And we are live. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm going to be your host. Before we get started here, I'd like to tell you that the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show is going to take place January 6th through 9th of 2022. That's going to be at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison, New Jersey. The Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoors Show is going to take place January 13th through 16th of 2022. That's 4 days of sports shows, guys, at the Lake County Fairgrounds, and that's in Grays Lake, Illinois. And speaking of both of these sports shows, I have a guy here today. He's going to be at both of them. A guy by the name of Dale Helgeson. He's an NWT pro as well as a fishing guide. How you doing tonight, Dale?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Jay?
Oh, I'm doing great. You know, you're sounding much better today. It sounds like you actually have some internet there, which is, guys, we tried to do this yesterday and we just did not have the internet. And I know how that is. I live out in the country too, so wow, But thank you for being patient with me, Dale. So Dale, you are a fishing guide in southeast Wisconsin. What lakes do you target?
Primarily Delavan Lake and Lake Geneva.
Delavan and Geneva, two lakes I spent a lot of time on. Boy, I love both of those lakes. And what do you have a species that you primarily target?
I like to go walleye, but you can get some really good smallmouth, northern pike, crappie on all the lakes. So we kind of do it all.
And they even stocked muskie in those lakes too.
Yeah, and they're getting some. I heard a guy this fall got 154 out of Geneva.
54 inches. I don't fish for muskies, but I'll take a trophy like that any day.
Yeah, anything over 50 is a big one.
Oh yeah, man, big old mean fish. It's probably weighs a ton. Wow.
Yeah, don't take your hand in his mouth.
No. He won't get it out. He won't get it out. But so you primarily guide walleyes.
Yep.
So I'm sure that since you're a competitor, you understand, you know how to jig, you know how to troll, you know how to cast for walleyes. What do you primarily do with your guests?
It all depends on the guest, because some of them are avid fishermen, some of them are casual fishermen, some of them they go out once a year. So it really depends on what their capabilities are. If they're somebody who doesn't fish a lot, we'll typically troll. If they have some knowledge, we'll do some casting or some jigging. If they're avid fishermen, we'll run and gun them.
There you go. So how would a guy get a hold of you if you wanted to book a trip for next year?
You could reach me on Facebook at the Outdoor EXP, or you can reach me on my phone number is 262-903-5460. Okay. So you also fished the NWT. Is this going to be your first year, or have you done that for a few years? No, last year I fished the PWS series. This year I'm fishing the NWT.
Wow, so you're going to be mixing it up with the likes of Keith Cavaias and Ted Takasaki and Marianne Husker and a host of the other legends, huh?
Yeah, I actually fished against Marianne this year in the PWS. We fished against each other. So
PWF, the Pro Walleye Federation?
No, that was the head-to-head professional walleye series that was up last year, and they canceled next year's events. So
head-to-head, that's over there. That was, okay. I really like their format. I enjoyed watching that. Watching you guys what you go through during a tournament. That's
and it was fun. It was nice because it was the same group of guys. It was more of a championship format, but they canceled next year, so we're going to the NWT and mix it up with those guys.
Well, that's going to be some good competition for you because those guys, they're good. They're good. I fished with a lot of them back in the 90s, when I was following the in-fisherman professional walleye trail around as a writer, and had a lot of good time fishing with Ted Takasaki, Tommy Scarless, Gary Gray, Chief Pompano. I fished with a lot of the greats, and it was really a fun couple of years I did that for.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Going to be a fun year for me. I've worked hard to get a lot of really good sponsors this year, so we'll talk about them later. But it's going to be a good time.
So you're going to start out at the Detroit River next year, there, aren't you?
Yep. Detroit River is the first one, the end of March.
When all the big girls are coming in from Lake Erie.
Hopefully, last year the a lot of the big ones didn't come in because it was such a warm winter. So hopefully it's a little more prototypical year, so we can get the big ones up in there.
That would be fun. That'd be fun to go out there and, geez, that'll just be like the late 90s where people are coming in with 50-pound baskets.
Yeah, I mean, if the big ones come in there, you're going to have probably that to win each day.
Yes. So you're going to be at the Garden State Outdoor Show, and you're going to be speaking there, aren't you?
Yeah, so they have some seminars scheduled for me there. I'm looking forward to it.
Can you give me a teaser, or give our watchers a teaser of what you're going to be talking about?
I know they wanted a couple topics, so I'm going to do some spring river walleye fishing. And because and the other one's going to be more of, if you're going to a new body of water, on how to dissect it and figure it out a little bit before you get there, what research you want to do before you get there, so you can be a little more prepared to catch fish when you get there.
Okay. So you're going to be talking good fishing sense. The stuff that can only be, stuff can only be learned over the course of decades of fishing.
Yeah, and I'm opening it up too to some of the people there. They do a little more ocean fishing there than we do in Wisconsin, so they have some different species, but a lot of the techniques translate to different species.
They sure do. They do a lot of ocean fishing over there. That's their forte, but. They also, you're not going to be that far away from upstate New York, where there are a lot of walleyes too, up there in the Finger Lakes.
Even just down in Maryland, there's some great walleye bodies of water.
Sure. So you're also going to be at the Northern Illinois Sports Show. You're going to have a booth there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll have my own guide booth there. But anybody who wants to come talk fishing or strategy or baits, whatever, line, rods, we talk rods all day long.
Yeah, you sure can. We sure can, man. Yeah, big part of our lives is fishing rods. And speaking of fishing rods, what kind of, so with as many different techniques as you use with casting and jigging and trolling, you need superior rods. I mean, what kind of rods do you use?
I run razor rods. They're probably one of the most sensitive rods on the market. And they have all kinds of rods. You can get bait casting rods, spinning rods, trolling rods. They have it all especially for the walleye bass game. You can get some heavier stuff for even muskie. There's some ocean stuff that you could get into. So they cover all the bases, but they have some great proprietary technology that they use for their rods that makes them a little more superior than other rods. They're not as big a known name, but people need to get to know them.
Razor rods are actually built by Grant Rods, and Grant Rods, I've been using them for years. I have some razor rods too, and it's just superior, man. With the stainless steel eyes and the reserve power, you can just, with the razor rod, you can whip. I like to do a lot of red fishing down here. Yeah, I live down by the Louisiana coast, and I can whip a 1 ounce redfish rig. It has a 1 ounce ball weight on it, and I mean, I have a good technique for casting, but I can whip that further than guys half my age can. And that's what I need. I need to get it across the channel that I'm fishing, and I need to be able to drop it anywhere I need to drop it. Because they're going to be up against the bayou, the channel walls, and they're going to be in specific spots, and they want to be away from where 40 other guys are casting. They want to be away from that. It scares them when they hear a 1 ounce.
You have to be able to control your cast, otherwise you're just going to be in trouble. And then you have to be sensitive enough once you do make the cast to feel the bite.
Yeah, when you have 100 feet of line out and you're the currents or the tides changing, you get a lot of current through there, and you're right. Redfish don't always bite they don't always bite very hard. Sometimes they just tap it. and you have to be able to feel that. You can't feel that with something that you bought for $35. You just
No,
can't.
no, that's just holding line. It's going to slow your cast down. And a lot of people are afraid to spend money on a good rod, but once you have one, you'll never go back.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. That's once you felt what superior sensitivity feels like, and the ability to be able to whip your presentation out. I mean, whip it.
Yep.
I bet you I can get 20 extra feet out of a cast, and that's against the guy who also knows the proper technique of casting. There's a technique. If you don't have that technique down, you're not going to be able to cast half as far as you should be able to.
Yep.
So
form.
Yes. So you like to use you like to use lures that weren't even around when I left Illinois back in 2011, and I had never heard of a Shiver minnow. Now everybody's using them, and you guys are catching fish out there in places that I used to only troll, like Green Bay.
Yep.
I mean, that was a trolling bite. That's all we did out there.
Yeah, it used to be crawler harnesses were the big thing. You go out there and August with crawler harnesses and trolleys till you're dead. But you'd catch them.
I also caught fish out there on Berkeley Frenzies, but
Yep.
But you're right. It was all trolling. Now, what could you explain to the people what a Shiver minnow is?
Sure, I have one here. This Moonshine Lure makes these. I don't know, can you see it good? This is called a Shiver minnow. It's a big heavy weight, and it's got a fin on the back, and your line goes up here, and you jerk it out of the in the water. You'll rip it 2 to 4 feet, and then as you let go, this thing dives and glides around. They call them glide baits. But it's a around.
Piece. That's a hunk of lead that I'm looking at there.
Yep, this whole thing is lead.
Okay.
So they're real heavy. If you want to cast one, you cast these things a mile.
And it darts around.
Yep. So it glides. Once you rip it up and you let go, it glides. It kind of shoots from side to side.
Okay. So you let it go down to the bottom, and then you rip it up, and it glides back down.
Yep. And once you get used to it, you try not to let it hit quite bottom, because there's so many zebra mussels and everything everywhere now. It'll snag stuff. So you want to try to get it right before it hits the bottom, and then rip it back up and then glide around. But they attack these things like crazy. And it's on every lake. I had a guy tell me I couldn't catch one on Lake Geneva on these things. And I caught some at noon on walleyes at noon on Lake Geneva with these.
And it was probably in August too, wasn't it?
Actually, it was August, September.
So you caught it the hottest month at noon on Lake Geneva in crystal clear water.
Bright sun, and I was fishing vertical.
Is that how you usually fish those? Is vertical?
You can cast them. I fish them vertically most of the time. Most of the time you don't have to cast out, because with the new electronics, you're really running and gunning, and you don't cast unless you see a fish anymore. It's not like the old days where you just chuck baits out and find in the water. Now you go target specific fish. Wow. If the fish aren't the right size, you don't cast. So you drive around until you find the fish you want to try to catch, and then you cast at them.
But you still got to know about where they're going to be at.
Oh, sure. You still got to know where the fish are. You still got to have basic fish knowledge. But now you're not wasting as much time casting. You get as much arm fatigue, because you're actually not fishing as much, but you're catching more fish.
Yeah, that just, everything I know about walleye fishing, that just goes against it. We used to go out and find an area. We would go out and find it. You did that for 30 years. You go out and you find an area. You can see some arches, and if you see arches within, okay, we've caught them here before. Let's set up a trolling pass according to the wind, and
Yep.
and go over them. Get out the old, oh geez, what was the name of that book I told you? There
Of
was
the
a
what?
book there was a book I had way back then that I told you how many feet of line to put back for every
Oh, the
every different
precision
crankbait.
trolling books.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
trolling
the
books.
precision
Yeah.
trolling books. Yep. I still have them. I still have the hard
Yes.
copies, but now it's all web based.
Yes, that would be much better because I can't tell you how many of those books moisture got into my holds and my boat, and mold grew all over that book. And even though I bought the
Yep.
expensive one,
Yep.
that wasn't paper, some kind of special kind of plastic thing, and mold would still grow on it.
Yep. Yeah, you get water trapped in there, it's gonna grow.
I would buy 2 or 3 of those books a year. Well, you can't be without them.
No, that's what's so important, because you have to, take your rods for trolling anyway, and you got to have the right line to match the books, because otherwise it skews the depth range. So there's a lot of variables that go in. Or if you're running snap weights, what's a snap weight curve?
You showed me
there's a lot of variables.
You showed me a different kind of lure yesterday that was kind of like a weight that had a hook on back.
Yeah, it's called a death jig by Walleye Creations.
Okay.
This is what it looks like. It's just this is a big weight, and then it's got a little spinner on it, and then it goes back to a treble hook and a death hook. And you put either live bait, a color, or fake. You could use plastic, and you put it on that death hook, and it's got a swivel on here. And this thing, now you rip it just like you do the Shiver minnow, and the blade will spin, and you'll get the death jig. You could troll these, actually.
That's what I was thinking. It looks like an inline weight, I'm sure you've used inline weights before.
They're heavy, and you could troll them. You could cast them. I had some friends that I fish against, actually, that did a TV show, vertical snap jigging these on Green Bay in 10 feet of water, catching giant walleyes.
10 feet of water vertically. Wow.
Crystal Bear water, 10 feet deep, and they're over them vertical. And they were hammering them.
10 feet vertical jigging. Wow. On Green, I can see 10 feet vertical jigging on the Illinois River, on the Mississippi River, but on Green Bay, where the water's crystal clear most of the time.
Yeah, and it was clear the day they were out filming that. It was awesome to see. It was awesome to see, but yet not awesome to see, because it's something now you can't hide it, because everybody knows about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. If I got up there, I don't know if I could do that. I just don't. It just doesn't feel right to vertically jig in 10 feet of water, in crystal clear 10 feet of water,
And they were getting 6-pounders.
I've caught geez, I went up to Canada so many times that it never occurred to me to fish underneath the boat in 10 feet of water. I bet there were a lot of fish that I passed up.
Yeah, but now you can be so quiet. I run all Lowrance stuff, and I run the Lowrance Ghost trolling motor. It is so quiet because it's brushless. You can sneak in on fish now. They don't hear you coming. The only thing they can do is see you, but they don't necessarily. Sometimes they will scatter. You'll see some scatter occasionally, but a lot of times you can sneak up on them pretty good.
Wow. I actually have seen that with the Garmin's, because that's what the guys I fish with use are Garmin's, and I've actually seen crappies go away from the boat when he starts up the trolling motor. But also this is on lakes where there is no current.
Yep.
Or actually bayous where there's no current, and it's only
it's amazing the new brushless technology and how quiet it is and how you can sneak up on more fish now.
Wow. Okay. So what kind of trolling motor are you using?
I'm using the Lowrance Ghost.
Okay. Lowrance Ghost. That's why they call it the Ghost, because it can sneak in on people, huh?
Yep, it's all brushless, so it's really quiet in the water. They don't hear it coming. Well, and the nice thing is that it integrates with my entire system, because all my graphs are linked together. My trolling motor is linked to my graph. My radio is linked to my graph. My marine radio is linked to my graph, so I can control everything from my touch screen. I can control my trolling motor, my touch screen, and my radio, everything.
You can control your trolling motor from your locator now.
Yeah. So if I'm in the back of the boat, and typically, unless I'm on big water, I don't even use my kicker motor anymore. I use just my trolling motor because the brushless is so light on the usage of the battery. It doesn't drain the batteries like the old trolling motors. So I've gone 12 hours trolling with just my electric, not using my kicker. And the new brushless is so much stronger than the other trolling motors. I can go faster. My last boat, I could go almost 7 miles an hour with my trolling motor.
Wow. Almost 7 miles an hour with your trolling motor, and you have a big old fiberglass boat too, don't you?
Yep. So it was amazing. So, and the nice thing is I could be if I'm trolling in the back of the boat, I can program in, like I can have a waypoint or a shoreline. I can make a trail, and I can actually have my trolling motor track that trail and type in how fast I want to go, and it'll just go. I don't have to steer. I don't have to do anything but fish.
Wow. That's awesome, Dale. I can't wait to get back out there and get to my next boat. I'm going to get my next boat soon. That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, guys.
Yeah, my new one could be out the showroom, could be up the manufacturing floor in a couple weeks. So.
What kind of boat are you getting?
I'm getting a Triton 206.
A Triton 206. I had a Triton. I loved my Triton walleye boat. It wasn't as big as yours. It was only 18 points in some change, but it handled Green Bay, Lake Erie, all the big water I went to, Lake St. Clair. It handled it all very well. And I had a 200 Evinrude on the back of it. That's back when Evinrude used to make motors.
Yep. Yeah, I'm on Mercury's Pro team, so I'm running the Mercury 300 on it.
There you go. I bet you that, man, that boat is going to get up and scream. Tritons are fast boats.
Yeah, they said empty with just guys and no gear and anything, it'll push about 70. They said fully loaded, it'll push about 65 guys in it.
Too fast for me.
You're not going to use it that fast very often.
No,
be pretty rare.
Particularly with $3 plus a gallon for gas. Yes, you're not going to use it that fast very often, because if you're going 55, you're going to use half the gas.
Yep. Well, it's got a 57-gallon gas tank.
Have to take out a loan to fill up the gas tank.
Yeah, I got to find me a gas sponsor.
Yeah. So, hey, Dale, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Oh, sure. I got a great list of sponsors this year. We got anything. Here's my tiniest jigs.
Look at that.
On the jig.
Look at that thing.
It's kind of a fun stuff, but he makes some crazy stuff. He's out of Alabama. He makes some crazy jigs.
Thing. That is beautiful, man. Remember the old style that back in the 70s they had the marabou jigs? That reminds me of just a giant marabou jig.
Yeah, he always puts some crazy stuff in it, some tinsel and stuff for a little extra flash. I got my tackle tray sponsor, Lure Lock. Great tackle tray company. We got Tool Line is a new line coming to the U.S. We're bringing them to market over here. Really nice strong line. Of course, Ghost Trolling Motors. Road Tricks are supplying my tow vehicle with wheels. They're a wheel sponsor, so I'm going to have some cool wheels on my truck now. DD26 provides transom savers and hydraulic steering savers. Daiichi hooks, which, like, here's a Shiver minnow that I traded the hook out on. Put a red hook versus what comes stock, just to get more bites. That little red triggers a little bit more. I do that on a lot of crankbaits too. I use Daiichi hooks for that. Moonshine Lures, of course, they make the Shiver minnows. Nurka mounts is my electronics mount, and Ram mounts are my rod holder mounts. Walleye Nation Creations, they make all kinds of crankbaits. They make the Death Jig, some other rigs and stuff. Wind Rider is my rain suit sponsor. They make a pro style rain suit, and as well as ice fishing gear, they make a pro ice fishing suit that's actually flotation. So hopefully I won't sink if I go in. But it could play on the play in Detroit River too, because if there's ice flowing down, it gets cold. You need to stay warm while you're out there. Diamond Graphics out of Cedarburg, Wisconsin is going to do all my wraps for me, my truck and boat, so I'll look good this year. Mercury Pro Team, Dakota Lithium Batteries. Last year, my first tournament was actually on the Detroit River, and I had 2 batteries where the cells went out and lost almost half a day, day 2 of fishing, and I was sitting in 9th place at the time and ended up losing my batteries. So I couldn't do my bite anymore. So now I switched to Dakota Lithium. They have been awesome, not a problem, and they last a long time. Bait on the Rock, it's a great little bait shop on the Rock River. Very knowledgeable guys. They'll help you do anything you need to know in the area, and they have great bait. Lowrance, they've changed the world of fishing with their side imaging. Their active target is amazing. I actually just got my new active target the other day in the mail. Excited for when the boat comes to start getting that rigged up, and I'll have 4 12-inch screens on the boat to go with it. So that'll be fun. I'm running all live units, so you can actually hook your cell phone up to it, check your text messages on there if you want.
Wow.
FX Flow Johnson pumps. They're providing all of my aeration pumps, my bilge pumps, and they have a washout station pump that runs off of the lake water that pumps the water into your boat to wash your boat out if you get blood on it, or say you're dealing with crawlers and dirt and you get a bunch of dirt. So you can wash your boat out right there in the water. So, when you're coming out of the water, you just wash it off, pull the plug, and let it all run out and clean your boat out. And then, of course, my rod sponsor is my top sponsor this year, and it's Max Rods. This is a Max Rod from Razor Rods. Great new rod this year. Looking forward to getting out and catching some walleyes on these. I'll be using, Razor Rods for everything. They do my trolling rods, casting rods, jigging rods, ripping rods. Even we still have some old bobbers. So you got to use some bobber rods. You never know when you got to use some slip floats for some.
Absolutely.
Some tight weeds or wood. So, the guys at Razor Rods have been awesome. Their rods, I have the best feel on the market. Their sensitivity is unmatched. I think anybody who hasn't used one, once they use one, they're going to switch everything they got to them if they can. They're not free, but they're great rods and reasonably priced, actually.
You get
There's more expensive rods on the market that I don't feel have the feel or the backbone.
Yep, I agree with you there. Well, hey Dale, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to our watchers on the Let's Talk Fishing podcast.
Oh, no problem. And if you want to talk to me live, I'll be at the Garden State Sports Show as well as the Northern Illinois Sports Show. So stop in and we'll chat on whatever you want to talk about.
Speaking of that, come on out and see Dale at the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show. That's going to be January 6th through 9th of 2022 at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison, New Jersey. Now, Dale is going to be one of the featured speakers there, as well as he will be in the Razor Rods booth. And also, he's going to have a booth for his guide business at the Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoor Show, and that's January 13th through the 16th of 2022. That's 4 days of sports shows at the Lake County Fairgrounds in Grays Lake, Illinois. Thank you again, Dale. And I'd like to thank everybody for watching or tuning in to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. And with that, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.